All right. So here we are again. Welcome back. Hope you all had a good weekend. I know we're all going through a lot these days, but let's talk about a topic that seems to have completely disappeared from the media, or certainly from big public attention. That's heart disease. Leading cause of death, right? I know you understand that already. These numbers they never get old for me. In the United States, one person dies every 37 seconds because of it. Looking at about 647,000 people per year. Think about these numbers, folks. That's about 1 in every 4 deaths are connected to heart disease. And the cost is well over $200 billion a year. It's amazing to me, especially when you consider just some of the major things we're going to cover today as far as simple solutions. Let's take a look at that right now. Hi, I'm Jonathan Landsman, your host for Natural Health 365 Live. We do these shows every single day, Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. We create a new show for you to basically help you improve your immune system function, which will automatically protect your health. And by the way, if you're new to this show, please type new in the comment section down below so we can give you a big hello and welcome you to this community. Thanks a lot for being with us. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at some of the major risk factors that we know for sure creates a more serious situation for anyone concerned about cardiovascular disease, or as most people hear it, heart disease. High blood pressure. If you haven't checked out your blood pressure lately, check it out. It's a simple thing you can do. They've got all kinds of devices. You just put it on your arm and you'll know what the number is, or the next time you go to the doctor's office, just check it out and know where you are and keep track of that. High blood pressure, Excessively high, right, on a regular basis is just way too much stress on the plumbing, right, our circulation. And that's a major risk factor for heart disease. Excessively high cholesterol. Now, keep in mind where I'm coming from and where a lot of top integrative healthcare providers who I've done work with over the many, many years I've been on the internet, they make this very, very clear. Conventional medicine will tell you something like you can never have too low a cholesterol. Well, that is quite ridiculous and, to be quite frank, dangerous to have very low cholesterol. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But the bottom line is the risk factor here is excessively high. You know, if your number's like 280, 300 or above, that certainly is indicating that something's going on for sure, and you're at a much greater risk for building up plaque. That plaque buildup, obviously then if it tears away, that's what creates the massive heart attack that most people experience in terms of just heart attacks alone. So you definitely want to stay away from having too much cholesterol build up in your body. And then third, a biggie, still out there and still happening to too many people without much thought, smoking. Definitely is a huge risk factor when it comes to damaging the cardiovascular system, and over time creates that cardiovascular disease, that heart disease, right? So we're looking at about half of all the American adults right here in the United States. We're looking at half of them have at least one of these three. That's why this is such a serious problem. And also there are other medical conditions you need to understand that contribute to this whole idea of getting more of a risk for heart disease, and that is diabetes, which primarily is coming from consuming way too much processed sugars. We've got to cut that out of our life. That creates a lot of damage on the body. And again, remember I said to you we're going to talk about cholesterol in just a few minutes here. Remember all of this damage that's happening to our plumbing, our arteries. Remember that. Diabetes is a biggie. High spikes in blood sugar, drops, high spikes again, constantly pinging the arteries with this high sugar content. If your environment, your inner terrain, your body is running on high sugar spikes all the time, this really does damage the arteries. Being overweight. But again, it's not about judging you for having too much weight. It's appreciating the fact that being overweight, I find more and more, is an indication of toxicity building up in your body. And the toxicity makes it very hard for an individual to lose weight. The toxins are getting stored in fat tissue. The body chemistry is starting to go off. Things are starting to get sluggish. And you see this time and again, or you hear this, I should say, where overweight people always say, I don't even eat a lot, and it's hard for me to lose weight. It is definitely a part of it. A big part, I feel, is the toxicity issues that you don't hear too much in the mainstream media. That's what's driving a lot of this obesity as a problem, just being very overweight. So unhealthy diet obviously is very important as well as a major risk factor for heart disease. Specifically, toxic fats that people eat, like those fast food hamburgers. Come on, millions and millions of people are still eating way too much of that, and that's what's driving this heart disease. And of course, all the chemicals that we see in the food supply. And as I said to you before, this is exactly what drives cholesterol so high. So conventionally speaking, they'll tell you that cholesterol is a big risk factor for heart disease. And in part, it's very true, but it's very much out of context, as I often say. The problem that most people have is they get a lot of information out of context. They don't understand the information. High cholesterol in the body is a clear indication when it's chronically high that you are most probably dealing with a lot of toxicity. And the reason why there's such a connection is because the toxicity in your body does damage to the arteries. your body is picking up that threat and sending cholesterol and plaque to the arteries to help patch up and repair the damage. So instead of this logic, or I should say this lack of logic in conventional medicine, of taking a cholesterol drug and just drop your cholesterol to next to nothing, we should be speaking to people about removing toxicity. Toxic fats, which are heavily loaded with lots of chemicals and unwanted pollutants. You know, these factory farmed meats that people, red meat, chicken, turkey, all of it, even the eggs for that matter. A lot of the animal foods that people are eating have very toxic fats because the animals are being injected with synthetic hormones. They have antibiotics. They're eating garbage food. They're very sick animals. These people out there are eating this kind of toxic fat, and it's doing tremendous damage to the arteries, as well as just all the other chemicals that are in our environment, whether it's in the environment or in our home, personal care products, household cleaners, all of this stuff that we're exposed to, that we're putting these chemicals into our body. All of this is causing a lot of damage to arteries over time. Some people, many people, are predisposed to having that damage as well. So this is all a bad combination. Physical inactivity is clearly another major thing that you want to get away from that is definitely driving heart disease. Now more than ever, people are becoming way less physical. It is just not a matter of lifestyle anymore for so many people to get up early in the morning, work the farm, lots of physical chores, even driving into town and doing all the work that you have to do was a big deal back in the day. Now it's like hop in a car, mobile devices, just voice-activated stuff where you could just sort of speak into the air and get things done and not have to move at all. It is very much a society that's become much more inactive, and that is definitely driving heart disease, especially in this country. Too much alcohol is another biggie, and we see especially these days with a lot of people staying at home more. In fact, one of the things I laugh, it's not really funny, one of the biggest places that remained open no matter what, with no threat of closing down, were the liquor stores during this whole pandemic that we've been going through for the last few months. Liquor stores and sales of alcohol have gone way up. They're not going down. You could say a lot of people are not going to restaurants as much the last few months. That's obvious. They're closed. But people are drinking a lot more alcohol. I think we haven't even seen the worst of the health complications from all the people staying at home, eating more junk food in general, and certainly drinking more alcohol, which is, I think, driving this very depressed emotional issues as well, which then is like a vicious cycle where we're just seeing a lot of alcohol being consumed. That is a major risk factor for heart disease. So I hope this is a big shout out for all of you who may not have thought about it too much. I hope you can kind of reel it back in and try to minimize your use of alcohol, because again, it's all about avoiding damage to your arteries. The more the arteries get damaged, the more plaque wants to come in, and sort of like plaster of Paris wants to patch up the injuries. And that's what's increasing plaque buildup, sluggish blood, and a vicious cycle until the one day most heart attacks are plaque tearing away, completely blocking a main artery, and then the person goes down with a massive heart attack. So we really need to focus in on the things in our lifestyle that will reduce the tendency to build up plaque in our body. Some of the top nutritional strategies, maybe you want to take some notes here, or you'll just watch this again to kind of share this with somebody that you love and go over some of these points. But I'll just cover just a few here that I think are extremely important if we're going to be more intelligent, about reducing our risk for heart disease and just making us feel better every day. Antioxidants. Back to what I said before. The injuries are constant if we're not careful, right? A reckless lifestyle, lots of toxins. Now, even if we're very careful, right? We're all still exposed in the air and around us, our immediate environment, depending on where we travel to. We get exposed to toxins. If you fill up gasoline at the gas station, you're breathing in benzene. I mean, this is just highly toxic stuff. So we don't always have control of that, right? Car fumes, the exhaust of cars everywhere, the rubber and tires hitting the road and spitting out these toxins. They're in the air all the time. So the list goes on and on, right? But when we look at the kind of foods we should eat that are protective, antioxidant-rich foods, just think of how much color do you have in your diet. The greens, the purples, the blues, the reds, all of these yellows, all of these vibrant colors. In fact, a very simple way of looking at food is the more colorful, like a rainbow diet. I'm sure you've probably heard of that term. The rainbow diet is a really intelligent way to go about eating every single day as sort of like a mask, if you will. Sorry to use that pun, but that protective layer that is truly designed to protect you from the inside out, keeps your immune system sharp, and it also counters or buffers all of these toxins that can come into our life and potentially do harm. So one thing in particular I certainly like to mention are berries, blackberries, blueberries, these kinds of berries, strawberries. Please, please, please make sure they're organic, because in terms of the dirty dozen, I'm sure you've heard that before, that term, the dirty dozen are the 12 dirtiest foods you can buy, conventionally speaking. These kinds of berries and fruit are high on the list. So you want to make sure if you're going to eat blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, things like this, you want to make sure that you're eating organic only, or else, again, you're just consuming more chemicals into your life. So this is important. Just always think of anything that can up the antioxidant levels in your body from all the foods you eat, fruits and vegetables in general. That's why you always hear that. You don't hear much more detail in the mainstream media, but eating lots of organic fruits and vegetables is one of the most intelligent things you can do to protect your arteries from damage. Specifically, upping your magnesium intake is really good. You don't have to get too stressed out about this. Green leafy vegetables, really good. Your kales, your collard, dandelion greens, mustard greens, arugula, all the dark green vegetables, really good. Your broccoli, things like this are really good to eat for magnesium. Pumpkin seeds, sprouted almonds. Often you'll see on the internet, they'll say almonds, but I would venture to say that a lot of people with digestive issues will have some trouble with raw nuts, especially if you start making it a regular habit throughout the week of eating a handful or so of raw nuts on a weekly basis. Probably better for you to lean towards a small amount of sprouted nuts like sprouted almonds, which makes it much easier to digest. And I would also say to you that with all food, what's really great to always do is chew it up a little bit better as well. If you're dealing with any health concern at all, really chewing up any food you eat is really a smart thing to do. Dark chocolate, now again, please don't hear that and start going out there. Not that I think you're going to, if you're watching my health programs, go out and buy Milky Ways or Three Musketeer bars or Kit Kats. Kit Kats are huge on TV. They really pound the airways trying to tell people to go pick up Kit Kats. I know they're real yummy, but it's not the chocolate I'm talking about. The really bitter, dark chocolate that actually isn't very sweet. A small piece of that, right? Not a whole candy bar size, but a small piece of that several times a week. Just kind of let it melt in your mouth and just get into your system. That's actually really good, high-quality, dark, organic chocolate. That's actually a very good source of magnesium. And black beans as well is another place that you can get magnesium. You can really get magnesium from a lot of places that are real, whole, organic food. That's the key. Upping your CoQ10 levels, also very important. This, I want to pause for a moment and just mention to you that so many people with heart disease as a concern, or they're dealing with it, they're put on statins, right? These cholesterol-lowering drugs. Well, you even see on these CoQ10 commercials on TV, they actually popularize this. I don't know how many people with heart disease are really taking notice, but the danger of taking statins for a long time, as well as just eating away at the integrity of your muscle tissue, your connective tissue, forget about all that. The side effects are horrific. But one thing in particular is the depletion of CoQ10. And CoQ10 is an extremely important coenzyme that is needed for heart health. So the longer you're taking statins, the more deficient you become with CoQ10. Something like that, to be quite honest with you, is probably, obviously, you have to work with an integrative healthcare provider who gets it. They understand nutrition. They understand the interactions of medications. They understand what's happening in your particular situation. But they're probably going to advise you to supplement with a high-quality CoQ10 supplement. I personally take one every day that's a liposomal form, so it's encapsulated in a little fat. When I take it orally, just in one spoonful, boom, down the hatch every single morning. And that actually protects it from my digestive system, my acids, and it helps me to get the CoQ10 directly into my cells, which is where you want the CoQ10 to go. So be sure to check that out with a good integrative healthcare provider that you have. Vitamin C, really important. I can't say enough about it. I've talked for years. If you're new to this program, might be the first time you've ever heard this. But if you look at Natural Health 365, my website, and you just type in vitamin C, you are going to get a wealth of information about the value and its effect on our physiology. Vitamin C, in a nutshell, is obviously a great antioxidant, if you don't know that already, super protective for our arteries. And there's a whole program we'll be working on very soon. If you're interested in more information about vitamin C and how it actually helps us in our health, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd like to see if you have an interest, but we are quietly working on a program behind the scenes that's going to really involve a lot of therapies that you can do to help you out. So quercetin is another substance that I want you to be aware of. This is a plant-based flavonoid, and you can get this quercetin from dark leafy green vegetables and fruits and other vegetables as well. But again, those dark green vegetables are really ones that you should key in on and try to have almost on a daily basis. You're talking about like a handful, a bunch. Doesn't have to be a whole meal, an incredible amount. But just getting a good bunch of that every single day is, again, a really smart move for you. Some other healthy heart strategies that you can do is, as I've mentioned before about toxicity, instead of thinking of fancy things to do, exotic remedies for your heart and for your arteries, really, number one priority, is it your water? Is it your food? Are it the chemicals you're using in your home? Personal care products you're putting on you, shampoo, conditioners, you women out there, makeup that you're putting on, anything you can do to lower your toxic burden is huge for lowering your risk of heart disease. This is what I want you to walk away from more than anything else, is am I doing any damage to my arteries by taking in too many toxins? That's it. If you can reduce that burden, you've done a lot for your overall health, especially the health of your arteries. And remember what I said to you. The higher your toxic burden, the more likely you are to be pushing your cholesterol levels higher. And so the answer, the solution, is not just to take a medication to drop your cholesterol down low and not address the toxins in your life. Because now, when you get rid of the cholesterol and you still have high levels of toxins, now you have no protective barrier there at all. Those toxins can do even more damage to your tissues. So please remember that. Root canal treated teeth, I've done this a lot in the past. Look at my other Facebook Lives on Natural Health 365, where I've actually specifically talked about poor oral health issues. But specifically, if you have root canal treated teeth, they are dead teeth, and they are very infected, most likely if they've been in your mouth for a long time. That toxicity, the bacteria that are nasty, and the waste products that they push out can go into your system, mix with your saliva, into your digestive system, into your blood, and lodge in and around your heart. This is a major source of toxicity. So if you're concerned about your heart health, please look into this with a biological dentist who really can appreciate what you're going to say. If you bring this to a conventional dentist, you know what I'm going to say. They're going to think you're nuts. If you bring this kind of information to a conventionally trained allopathic physician, a regular doctor, your family doc, they're probably going to think you're crazy. So that's why I always come back to, you better make sure you're working with a doctor that you really feel comfortable with, who understands all of these things, so that you can talk your way through all these things and figure out what the next step is for you. Exercise, can't emphasize it enough. According to the journal Circulation of the American Heart Association, let me just share with you a quote. As many as 250,000 deaths per year in the United States are attributable to a lack of regular physical exercise. Can you imagine that? They're talking about 250,000 people dying a year just because of inactivity. It just blows my mind. And I've been in the health and fitness industry for nearly 35 years. And quotes like that really stop me in my tracks, especially when I know what the research says. Your next logical question would be, okay, Jonathan, I get it. How much? 30 minutes a day? Walking? Literally getting more and more people up out of their chair. After a half hour, an hour, it should be enough for you. You should be moving around, move your legs, move your arms, get moving, and make sure that you do have an exercise session most days of the week that are like 30 minutes straight. If it's hard for you because of weight issues or health or energy level concerns, then you've got to start every day with 5 or 10 minutes a day and build up 12, 15, 18, 20, 22 minutes. You see how it goes? You do that week after week. Imagine having 1 week at 10 minutes a day, and then the next week 12, and then the next week after that 14, and you're literally only increasing about 10% increase a week. It's like you're sneaking up on your body to get in better shape, not alarming it that you're doing too much, and make it sure that it's comfortable and that you're doing it on a regular basis, week in and week out. You will naturally build up, and you'll look back thanking yourself every single day that you got started on that first day. Remember, the hardest part is the first day. Meditation has been huge as well. Great strategy for people who are concerned about heart disease. Meditation, but there's also a lot of studies that have talked about not only meditation, but like things like yoga and Tai Chi. Your attention is sort of drawn towards you and how you're doing a little bit more. And it's not a self-centered thing. A lot of people sort of worry about other people and focus all their life on other things and don't pay enough attention sometimes, sacrifice their own health. So meditation, yoga, Tai Chi on a regular basis, really great. According to Dr. Denninger, the director of research at the Harvard-affiliated Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital, here's a quote that I think you'll enjoy. Not only can meditation improve how your heart functions, but a regular practice can enhance your outlook on life and motivate you to maintain many heart-healthy behaviors, like following a proper diet, getting adequate sleep, and keeping up regular exercise. So you see how it's all connected. Putting this in will have a positive effect on other things. Just like, as you can appreciate, the more we eat bad food and drink more alcohol, that can tend to lead to more and more poor behaviors if we do that too much. So we're trying to reverse the trend here. Sunshine, vitamin D, can't say enough about this. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, another very good quote about vitamin D in particular, here it is. A growing number of studies point to vitamin D deficiency as a risk factor for heart attacks, congestive heart failure, peripheral artery disease, strokes, and the conditions associated with cardiovascular disease such as high blood pressure and diabetes. The research is there, folks. The good science is there. It's just the only problem that I often see is it hasn't made the jump into enough clinical settings, into enough of the doctors' offices out there giving a very strong, heartfelt appeal to every single person that goes into these offices. Hey, this is what you got to do. You got to move comfortably every day. You got to get your vitamin D levels up. Too many people are grossly deficient in vitamin D. And remember, if you're new to the show, I've mentioned it often before, the nanograms per milliliter, this is the measurement in your blood of your vitamin D levels. If you're below 30, that's an alarm. A lot of people are below 20. That's a very loud red alert. Too many are that low. You want your numbers to be up in the area of 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. That's where you want your blood test to be. If you can maintain those levels, you're doing really well. Okay, don't forget the one last thing as I close out the show. What would be the one other thing that Jonathan's going to feature? And again, keep in mind, we're talking specifically about heart disease, and I'm just going to say the obvious because I think it's worth it. Don't forget we need more love. That's right, love. The emotion that comes from the heart. There was a doctor I'm reminding myself of. I didn't put it down in my notes for today. But if you guys want something really fun to watch, this is somebody who I think of often that I would have loved to have interviewed. Dr. Leo Buscaglia. I don't know if any of you know him as PhD, not a practicing medical doctor, but he gave lots of talks about the value of love, human behavior in general, and how we should be acting. He would often make fun of the way, and he came from a big Italian family, right? So he used to be very humorous about the craziness, not just his own family, but just in humans in general, the crazy, negative, destructive behavior that he would see people do, but he said it in such a fun way that it made you really look at yourself so much more. If you ever get a chance, he's all over the internet. You could certainly pick up some videos of him doing his presentations in front of very large audiences. Leo Buscaglia. Check out his work, and I promise you this, you won't be looking at life exactly the same after you listen to him several times. I used to listen to him a lot, and it really helped me on a personal level. We need less fear. I know that's a easier said than done kind of thing to say, especially in these days where everybody's going around so fearful of today's current virus situation. But we definitely need less fear, less resentment, and less anger. Again, remember, We're talking about heart disease here. Too many people suffering, I think, from these emotions and these feelings. My final point is life is short. It's over before you know it. So we might as well enjoy it as much as we can. That's where we should be putting our focus. We shouldn't be dreading living a healthy lifestyle. We should get excited and try to find ways to enjoy those things that we know are healthy. If exercising is tough on your own, you know what? Try to find somebody else that you can do it with, because God knows there's a lot of people that aren't exercising enough. Partner up with somebody, and it'll make things happen, because here's the bottom line. This is segueing into my conclusion here. Heart disease is avoidable. Please don't forget this. This is the most important thing, right? Conventional medicine would love for you to believe something of a notion that is far from the truth. Anything you get, right? Heart disease, cancer, whatever. It's a mystery. We're not really quite sure. Maybe it was genetics. And now the only thing you should focus on are more things like manage and treat. Never is it something like cure. In fact, most doctors are taught, don't ever say that 4-letter word. That's just bad. But the truth is, heart disease is avoidable. You can live your whole life without it. But knowledge is key. Good information is key. And that's why you often hear from me, a lot of the things I report on, you hear some news story and it's so out of context, it leaves people just dazed and confused. They don't know what to do. Knowledge is the key, and knowledge is the way that you get rid of fear. The more you know about something, taking better care of your heart, taking better care of your digestive system, taking better care of your immune system, the less fearful you'll be. So when we say we need less fear in life, the way to get there is more knowledge, good information that you obtain for yourself from your own personal experience, not just from reading it in a book or watching somebody else do it. Support, I think in many cases, is very necessary. Let's keep it real. I think a lot of people out there would do so much better if they had support from a friend or a significant other, right? I've heard way too much in the past how difficult a situation has been in the family, at home, because one person thinks one way and then the other person in the house feels completely the other way, and they're at odds with each other and actually, unfortunately, going at each other. That's tough. That's a rough way to go. If you want to try to improve your heart health and you're all by yourself, a lot of times that is going to make it much tougher for you. So in many cases, I say support is really a necessary component that we should be looking for, and there's nothing wrong with it. Accountability is huge. I think this is very much linked up to what I was just saying. If you think all on your own, you're going to do it. Not really. Let me give you an example with my training, all my athletics in the past. My best athletic performance was born out of accountability. I had 2 guys in particular that I'm thinking of that I trained with for many, many years. And because I knew they would never let me down, and I'm serious, like never, always meet me wherever we decided, at what time, park the cars, and then go train, they were there. They were waiting for me. There was accountability. If I had to do everything that I did athletically all by myself, without, before these 2 guys I'm describing to you, but even in my earlier years, especially with racquetball, without a high-performance coach pushing me, without other people pushing me, I would not have done anything like I did athletically. Accountability is so important. Doing it alone, most likely not going to do it. And then, of course, last but not least, consistency. Whatever you can do. In other words, don't tell me the great thing you did yesterday, although I'm happy for you if you did something really great yesterday. But talk to me about what you're able to do consistently. Because if it's not consistent, then what's the point of any of it? This is how we counter and we get away from the risk of heart disease. We find all these little things that we can do on a consistent basis. This is sort of the formula that I would use and that I would suggest to you will really help you to be super successful at avoiding heart disease. So my question of the day, what is your greatest heart concern? Please tell me in the comments section below. A, heart attack, wanting to avoid your first one, or God forbid you had one, you want to avoid a second one. So what is your greatest concern? A, heart attack, B, stroke, C, medications that you might be taking and looking for some other way out, or D, maybe it's something else, other. Please tell us in the comment section below. Okay, and just as a reminder, the Natural Health 365 live broadcast that you're watching right now, we do another new show every day for you, Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So be sure to check it out. It's all focused on improving your immune system function, which will automatically protect your health. Thank you very much for joining us today. Please make sure to share this show with your family and friends. I'd really appreciate it. Tag somebody in the comment section below. Get this message out to somebody who I know would benefit from this information. Thanks again for being with us, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care, everybody. All right, Instagram. Hope you liked it. We'll talk to you again soon.